Good evening, everyone. Could you please turn your camera on? It's live now. Thank you. Councillor Alexandra, your microphone, is on now.
Thank you. Are we ready?
Yes, everyone is here.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. My name is Councillor Paul Alexander and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. If I lose connection and can't reconnect, Councillor Bora Kwan will take over from me. I'd like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your cameras turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than at their allotted time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. If any councillor leaves the meeting or loses connection during an item, we will pause and wait a few minutes for them to reconnect. If a councillor is not present for a substantial part of the discussion of an item, they will not be included in the deliberations. The quorum for this meeting is 2 members of the committee. If we have fewer than 2 members in attendance, I will have to adjourn the meeting. I now move on to item 1 on the agenda. Apologies for absence.
There is none, Chair.
None.
No.
Declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest?
None from me, thank you.
None from me either, thank you.
Item 3, Deluxe Coffee Works, 219 Carnegie House, 219 Shepherd's Bush Road, London W6 7JS. I'd like to ask everyone to introduce yourselves as I call on you. We should have with us one committee member, Councillor Bora Kwan. Sorry, Bora, I couldn't hear you.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Josie Alfonso.
Present.
Sorry, Jose Alfonso. The applicant, Mr. Liam Stews.
Hi, present.
Licensing officer, Alicia Collins, supported by Karen Leon.
Present, Chair.
The council's legal officer, Goethe Kohelej.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
Thank you. Procedure. Before we consider the application today, please may I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. We will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application. Usually objectors who have registered to speak, but there's no objectors attending the hearing, so committee members may wish to refer to the written objection. And then finally, the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee once for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation of all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or other person present at the hearing. No party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. Licensing officer, can I ask Licensing Officer Alicia Collins to introduce the application?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, panel. By way of background, I can confirm that on the 31st of August 2022, Mr. Liam Stews, the applicant, submitted an application for a new premise licence in respect of the business known as Deluxe Coffee Works 219, located at Carnegie House 219, Shepherd's Bush Road, London. The applicant sought to apply for the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premise from 1200 hours to 16:30, Sunday to Wednesday, and 1200 hours to 21:30 hours, Thursday to Saturday, along with the opening hours from 700 hours to 1,700 hours Sunday to Wednesday and 700 hours to 2,200 hours Thursday to Saturday. The licensing section received one representation from a local resident objecting to a new licence during the 28 consultation period. You will note that from the report, the applicant has now reached an agreement with the police. These details 8 conditions that have been agreed should the licence be granted, which can be seen on page 18 to 22 of the report. I would also like to mention that the planning section has received comments from the planning department relevant to the premises. A copy of these can be seen on page 26. I have no further comments at this stage unless you have any questions.
Okay, applicant, can I ask the applicant Liam Stews to give a presentation, please?
Yeah, hi there. Sorry, I'm not quite familiar with all the lingo. Presentation just being
Well,
yeah.
just if you wanted to talk to us about the application and why you should have it, and any details you think we need to know about. But hopefully we can just do it as a friendly conversation.
Yeah.
So,
No. I think when I applied for it, I assumed it would be quite a straightforward process. If you look at the hours that I've applied for, it's not like I'm seeking to be a late night bar. I'm not looking to have any crazy parties with this license. We would stop serving alcohol at 9:30. Everyone would be out by 10 o'clock. We are a cafe first and foremost. I'd like the alcohol license to be able to serve, to be able to stay open a few nights a week, a bit later, serve some alcohol, and just be able to entertain guests slightly later on. I believe that the representation was made against the alcohol license. I know who made it, my upstairs neighbor. But I think when you look at the representation, you can see that very few of the comments are actually to do with the alcohol license itself, and most of them are to do with the belief that we're not allowed to have a cafe here. It has to do with the used classes all being grouped together into Class E in 2020, and the person who made the representation wasn't aware of that at the time. So if I was to make points in reference to the representation, there's very few to actually dispute, because not many of them have to do with the actual alcohol license itself. So yeah, anything else, let me know.
is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's all for me now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Committee, can I ask each committee member to ask questions of any party about the application and issues that have been raised at the hearing?
Chair, could I start?
Yeah.
Liam, if it's okay to address you by your first name, do you have any plans for the kind of alcohol that you are planning to serve? Is it beer? Is it coffee, cocktails? What is it? Wine?
Yeah, all of the above, really. Where it's mainly beer and wines. We would probably do a few coffee-based cocktails, as it would fit into the vibe of the cafe fairly well. But yeah, nothing too extravagant. Just basic spirits, beers, wines, and a few just easy espresso-based cocktails. Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions at this time, Chair.
Thank you. Just on a clarification, Liam, when you say beers, are you going to be pulling pints from draft barrels, or are you talking about bottled beers?
So initially, I believe it will just be bottles and or cans. I've worked in a bar for a while, and I don't really want to be cleaning beer lines once a week, so I don't want to have the whole draft situation going on. So I think I'll be keeping it to beers and cans.
Okay, I think the councillor sort of expressed all our sort of what's going on in the back of our heads is, are you converting this into a pub?
Definitely not. I have no intentions of turning this into a pub whatsoever.
Okay. Councillor Afonso?
Thank you, Chair. Liam, may I ask, what is the current capacity of your cafe, and basically, how many people, say, on a full night, would you be serving alcohol to?
Sure. So the cafe currently is it can seat about 30 to 35 people sitting down. And one of the amendments to our license that the police made was that we can only serve alcohol to seated people at tables. So yeah, we would only be serving about 35, maybe maximum 40 if we got an alternative seating arrangement, maximum 40 people at any time.
Thank you. That's all from me, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kwan, do you have a further question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Liam, do you have any outdoor seating arrangements, or do you plan to? Is from the plans, it looked like there wasn't an outdoor space, but could you see it in the future?
So I have made an application or put interest forward to the council to have a pavement license. Our pavement is about 3 meters wide in front of us, so there's plenty of room for a table there. Again, one of the amendments to our license was that no glassware would be allowed to be taken outside. We fully intend to enforce that rule. So yes, I do plan on having outside seating in the future. Obviously, it's winter now, so it's freezing. So come summertime, I would look to have a table outside, yes.
Okay, so because we were going to ask about condition 7 from the police about the glassware. I presume that's where that's come from then.
Yes, I imagine so. I think also because people will be wanting to go outside to smoke. Obviously, you're not allowed to smoke inside. So I think one of the main things was when people go outside for a cigarette, they aren't taking a glass of wine outside with them, which we, like I said, fully intend to enforce.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from me, Chair.
Thank you. Can I get some information from Goethe? Goethe, have you heard the licence application and the idea of tables on the pavement? Is it within?
Mhm.
I was under the view that we can't grant a licence for the public highway on the pavement to a particular premises owner.
It's a separate application. It's not to do with the premises license law or licensing authority. But if the applicant wants to have a license to have tables outside, they need to apply for a pavement license. During COVID, the restrictions were to have, or the applications to have a license on the pavement were more relaxed. I am not sure whether that has changed, but if the applicant would make an application, then the relevant authority can advise him whether he can have it or not. And if there is no application for him to have any tables or chairs out in the outside space in the public pavement, then he will be in breach of that. So he cannot have that. But he needs to make an application. It's a separate process from the premises license.
So to be clear, we're not being asked to grant a licence for consumption of alcohol on the pavement.
If you would have to consider that in the future the applicant will do that, then the police have imposed conditions to cover that scenario in the future. So if in the future the applicant will have the license to have a couple of tables or even more outside on the pavement, then there is a condition in the license to prevent him from serving alcohol on a glassware outside. And that condition, as you said, will also prevent people from going to smoke and have the glasses of alcohol outside of the pavement.
Thank you, Goethe. Alicia, you've kindly looked at this application and presented it to us. Do you see this in the application? Is it clear where the licence is being requested for, and if it takes in the pavement?
No, I don't believe it takes in the pavement. The red line is around, he's got 2 red lines. So It's on the inside. I believe it's on the inside, but it's not stipulated any outside area to be licensed under this application.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any further questions. Karen?
Yes. Hi. Sorry, I just wanted to add to that. The application is currently for on the premises. If he was granted alcohol for consumption on the premises, he'd benefit from the Business Planning Act. So he would be able to provide alcohol outside. However, that would be subject to, like the legal officer said, an application for a tables and chairs license, and he'd still be subject to the condition agreed with the police.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Just one final question, Liam, if you would. You have a neighbour, and you quite rightly pointed out that this is a license application, not a planning application. But you look like the sort of fellow, if you don't mind me saying, who wants to get on with his neighbours. Are there any of the points you can raised by your neighbour that you can address with her?
Yeah, thank you for raising that. It's to be honest with you, it's been a little bit frustrating because I have tried to reach out to her and to come to some kind of agreement. There, like she mentioned in the representation, she complained to the council once because while we were building, I was building on a Sunday or doing construction on a Sunday. I wasn't aware at the time I wasn't allowed to do that. I did apologize to the council. I apologized to her, wrote a letter, put in the post with my number and my email, said if you ever have any issues, please do get in contact with me. I haven't been able to get in contact with her to discuss any of these points that she's raised. I would be very happy to come to an agreement with, majority of them. Some of them are, just a bit irrelevant. But all of these points, I'm sure there is a way for us to come to some kind of understanding. But I must say, from what it seems like from my side, she hasn't made much of an effort to come to an agreement with me without getting the council involved. It does seem like she's going via this, via that to get to me, which is a bit frustrating.
I would just say to you that our noise and environment department, they haven't made any comments on this. So whatever's happened in the past has happened in the past, and it's not something that the committee are going to take into consideration. However, we do have quite standard regulations that most borough councils will do in London about noise and construction work on business premises, and it's the onus is on the business owner to fit in with those regulations or to deal with any variants if they want them, rather than the residents. And it's just if you were to consider in future your pavement license and that, it might be better to have your neighbour on side. And she's obviously quite. It sounds like you've fallen out over some construction work or whatever it was in the past, and I just wish you can you can address that. You don't have to, but it's just personal. I don't have any further questions. Do you, Councillor Kwan or Councillor Afonso? Okay then. So can I ask each party to sum up for 3 minutes in the following order? Firstly, the licensing officer, Alicia.
Nothing further to add. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Liam.
I think I've said all there is to say on my part. Nothing further to say either.
Thank you very much. And if we've got no further nothing further to say, the committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate meeting room. An adjournment tile will be displayed during the deliberations. You're welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow. Can I ask members to turn off their video and mute their microphones and join the private meeting in Teams for deliberation? Thank you.
So everyone, we are live now. You can turn on your camera, please.
Councillor Alexander, you are on mute.
Are we ready to start?
Yes, everyone.
Sorry, David, are you?
If you have a decision, you can read out the decision.
Okay, thank you. The London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham summary decision of the licensing committee, of the licensing subcommittee, 30th of November.
Councillor Alexander, I'm sorry, there is a noise coming from your microphone.
Is it mine?
I think so.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham summary decision of the licensing subcommittee, 30th of November 2022. Deluxe Coffee Works 219, located at Carnegie House 219 Shepherd's Bush Road, London, W6 7JS, which is the premises. The committee has considered an application for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol on the premises under the Licensing Act 2003. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to 1. Grant the application in full, 2. Impose conditions proposed by the police and agreed by the applicant. A copy of this committee's decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the licence, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If any party is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So we will have the second hearing. Yeah. Because the guest is waiting in the waiting room, I need to admit them.
Or do you prefer, Councillor Alexander, to have a 5-10 minutes break?
I think a 5-10 minute break.
Yeah, but I
Okay,
think
so-
the sooner the better, because Councillor Ford.
Yes, I can understand that. Yes.
Yeah. She want to have a quick one to John. I will admit her anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it's up to the chair to make that decision, though. So
Yeah. Yes. Sure.
Okay, we'll return back in 10 minutes.
Hello?
The meeting has been adjourned for 10 minutes. The councillors will have a break from the first hearing application. Councillor, if it is all right.
I don't have much option, do I?
We'll see you in 10 minutes.
Well,
Debbie, is everybody here?
Yes, it is. Please turn on your camera because we are on live now. Andrew and Robert and Lisa.
Hello.
Debbie, can you tell me who iPhone is?
It should be, I think it's Robert, the applicant. I'm trying to rename him.
Hi, I don't know, can you hear me? Because this is the first time I'm using from iPhone because I'm abroad. So I'm on iPhone.
Yes, we can hear you. I don't know whether we can hear Andrew, Mr. Taylor. I think I can see his audio is being connected. So maybe we can wait until we can hear him as well. I don't know whether Andrew can hear us.
And then also welcome Councillor Staten. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's Councillor Stanton, not Stainton.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton.
Councillor Alexander, unfortunately, I thought we were starting at 8, so I have arranged for something to be delivered. So if I disappear for 30 seconds, it's not with disrespect to the panel. It is unfortunately I have to answer my door. I hope you'll accept that.
Yes, that's fine, Councillor Alford.
It means no disrespect to you. It's just.
Andrew, if you can hear us, maybe you would like to join the Zoom meeting because I don't think your audio is being connected. Maybe you would like
turn on the camera, Andrew.
Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe Debbie, if you have email address, you can send an email to Mr. Taylor to try and join the link again.
His sound isn't actually connected, so he won't be able to hear us.
Okay, so he can't hear us at all.
Okay,
Maybe you have an email address, or maybe you missed the radio. If you can send an email or a quick text to Andrew to log off and then maybe join the Zoom link again.
I suspect it might be that he's away from his computer, because that does often happen if you kind of join the meeting but don't click all the way through.
Okay.
Okay, I will call in quickly. Hopefully it's not gonna take me out of the meeting.
Thank you.
We're all keeping warm.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yes, sorry, I didn't know we'd started. I thought it was 8 o'clock.
No, we started.
Okay, is everybody here, Debbie? Because I'd like to start the meeting.
Robert just now has joined and then he left. So we need Robert back.
He's abroad, so he's liable to cut in and out, but he's trying to join, I know.
I think he logged off so he can speak to you to notify you, Andrew, that we were live. So hopefully he will join us.
He's here now.
Okay, so we are ready to start, Chair, whenever you are.
Sorry, my bell has just gone. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Hi, sorry about that. I had to leave because I had to call him from my iPhone because I'm on the phone. Only I have data available at the moment. So he will be joining us in seconds.
I'm here.
Okay, Councillor Orford. Okay, I'd like to start the meeting.
My apologies.
Thank you. And we'll start the meeting now. Welcome to tonight's Licensing Committee meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. My name is Councillor Paul Alexander. I will be chairing tonight's meeting. If I lose connection and can't reconnect, Councillor Borokwon will take over for me. I'd like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. And I can see there's quite a few people with, thank you, everybody. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than at their allotted time to speak, they must use the raise the hand function so they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. If any councillor leaves the meeting or loses connection during an item, sorry, that should be committee members, leaves the meeting or loses connection during an item, we will pause and wait a few minutes for them to reconnect. If a committee member is not present for a substantial part of the discussion of any item, they will not be included in the deliberations. The quorum for this meeting is 2 members of the committee. If we have fewer than 2 members in attendance, I will have to adjourn the meeting. I now move to item 1 on the agenda. Do we have any apologies for absence?
There are none, Chair.
Do we have any declarations of interest? I'll move to item 3. Fulham Kitchen, 228 Munster Road, Fulham, London, Southwest 6, 6AZ. 8 p.m. I'd like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. We should have with us committee member Councillor Borokwon.
Present, Chair.
Committee member Councillor Jose Afonso.
Present, Chair.
The applicant, Mr. Robert Radosik, is that correctly pronounced?
Yes, it is.
Thank
present,
you.
Chair.
And your agent, Mr. Andrew Christopher Taylor.
Present.
Licensing Officer Alicia Collins, supported by Karen Leog.
Present, Chair.
Well, I know Karen's here. The Council's Legal Officer Goethe.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
And the representations from Councillor Adroni Alford.
I'm here.
Procedure. We will consider the application.
Excuse me. We have another, objectors. Councillor Dominic Stanton.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not on my list for some reason, but I'm aware of Councillor Stanton. Procedure. Before we consider the application today, may I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow? We will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application. the objector who has registered to speak, the objectors who have registered to speak, and finally the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee once for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation of all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or other person present at the hearing. No party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. Can I ask the licensing officer, Alicia Collins, to introduce the application, please?
Yeah. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, panel. By way of background, I can confirm that on the 25th of August 2022, Mr. Robert Rajovic, the applicant, submitted an application to vary the premise licence in respect of the premises known as Fulham Kitchen, 228 Munster Road, Fulham, London. The application sought to vary the premise licence to remove condition 11 as outlined below. The terrace will be closed and patrons requested to come inside the main structure of the premise at 2200 hours. All other activities and timings are to remain the same as the current licence. A copy of their current licence can be seen on pages 34 to 45 of the report. The licensing section received 3 representations in total, one from Councillor Stanton, one from Councillor Alford, and one from a local resident objecting to the variation of the licence during the 28-day consultation period. The applicant has proposed a number of additional steps to promote the 4 licensing objectives if the application is granted. A copy of those conditions can be seen on page 51 to 52 of the report. There has been some previous enforcement history in respect of the above premise, which can be viewed on pages 29 to 30 of this report. Apologies, but please note an additional enforcement action took place on the 1st of November 2021. A warning letter was issued following the substantiated breaches of conditions, and following that in March 2022, a further visit was made and no breaches were found. I would also like to mention that the applicant has previously applied to amend/remove the above condition on 3 previous occasions, 2 of which the applications were rejected by committee. The licence was transferred to Robert on the 6th of the 3rd, 2015, and was already subject to condition. The terrace will be closed and patrons requested to come inside the main structure of the premise at 2100 hours. On the 17th of the 4th, 2015, a variation was made which included amending condition 11. 2. The terrace will be closed and patrons requested to come inside the main structure of the premise at 2300 hours. This was rejected at the licensing subcommittee. A following application was then made on the 11th of the 2nd, 2016. It's a variation application to amend condition 11 to the terrace will be closed and patrons requested to come inside the main structure of the premise at 2200 hours. This was granted with no representations. And then finally, on the 1st of the 4th, 2021, a full variation was made, which included the removal of condition 11, and that was rejected at the licensing subcommittee. I have no further comments at this stage, unless you have any questions.
No, thank you very much, Alicia. Can we now hear from Councillor Adroni Alford, please?
Thank you very much, Councillor Alexander. I will keep my comments very brief. I do object to this application because, as if you can look from your map behind you, you will see it's in the middle of a residential area. And regretfully, with their breaches, it has led to a lot of concerns from local residents. And I feel that it would be detrimental to the area for this application to be agreed. I think that sums it up very simply.
Thank you, Councillor Alford. Councillor Stanton, and I do apologise for not reading you on the list before, but it's well, I'll take the hit for the typo.
Thank you, Chair. I too will be very brief. Firstly, I'd like to concur with what Councillor Alford has already said. You have in your pack the submission that I made regarding this application, so I'm not going to expand on that. I will just draw your attention to a couple of small points. The two licensing objectives on which I have made my objection, the prevention of public nuisance. The Munster Road, some people think of it as quite a busy road. It's actually quite relatively narrow, with a lot of residential streets around it. So when considering this application, I would urge you to consider the space to be that of a residential space rather than sort of mixed use or town centre. There are a lot of children and young families living in the area, and so on the basis of the prevention of harm to children, any noise that might emanate from the terrace would be severely detrimental to them. Now, you've already heard about enforcement action that's been taken or notices that have been issued to this premise. It does have a tendency, it shows live sports, I believe, and it does have a tendency, as is quite understandable, for people to enjoy it and to make some noise while watching games. And certainly late night games, that can actually be quite detrimental to children in the neighbourhood. I'll give you one small example very recently, which shows why the time is an issue. I believe it was a Serbia game in the World Cup, which took place during the day. And after that game, there continued to be loud singing and noises emanating from the venue until quite late in the evening. So this application has been rejected a number of times before. I don't believe anything has changed and would urge you to reject it. Should you not reject it, should you be minded to grant the application though, I would, as I put in my submission, request that such conditions be placed upon the venue to ensure that residents are not disadvantaged by this.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. Have you concluded?
That's it for me. As I say, you have my submission, which has more detail, but I don't think I need to expand on it here.
Thank you. Can I now come to the applicant, Mr. Radishish? Are you going to speak, or is Andrew Taylor going to speak? Or do you both want to speak, but not at the same time?
Not at all. If it's okay, Robert, sorry.
I was just going to say, can I pass my time to Mr. Andrew Taylor, because I don't want to repeat.
Of course you can, yes. Yes.
And I can just have a final word on the end. That'll be fine, like just 1 minute.
Yes, you can. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. This probably will take the full 5 minutes, so I'll try and read as quickly as possible. I start this with a sense of déjà vu, indeed, from where we were almost a couple of years ago to where we are now. What have either side done to help resolve this situation? Well, from Fulham Kitchen's point of view, they've invested tens of thousands.
Sorry to interrupt you for 1 second. Could I ask people to mute their microphones who are not speaking? Thank you. Please continue. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Not a problem. From Fulham Kitchen's point of view, they've invested tens of thousands of pounds to professionally enclose the rear garden, built a complete all-round retractable shelter at the front, and trained staff to adhere vehemently to council rules and regulations. And what have the one set of neighbours done, the NIMBYs, who moved in next door to an established and key component to the social and business life of Munster Road, griped, tricked and reported falsehoods from their ivory tower. As NHS employees, previously they abused their employment in this august establishment as a result of the pandemic to make spurious and racist allegations, indeed taking advantage of the position of dealing with neighbours for whom English is not their first language. And the 2 Munster Ward councillors, who represent just 28% of the 2022 voters, despite inviting both of them to visit the establishment, as the neighbours have repeatedly refused to discuss their one-family complaints, they've never knowingly accepted or appeared. The other major change, which are probably music to the ears of the objectors, is the decline and closure in affordable establishments on Munster Road, remembering that not everyone can afford to eat expensive food as well as drink out, like doctors' salaries allow. Locali is shut permanently, the largest and longest established licensed business on the road, and to the shame of Hammersmith and Fulham, is apparently to be turned into residential flats. The much-loved Olive has also closed permanently. What was Convivium has been sold off and is now Raphael's. It only allows drinking with its expensive menu and does not allow dogs in its tiny open terrace. The most expensive, L'Amour, is out of reach financially for the majority, especially in these fiscally challenged times. Leaving only Retro, which I know from Andy, the owner, struggles with its 10 p.m. council-enforced closing time. The Captain Cook is mentioned, but as is on its third different owner since it reopened in 2014, it hardly seems a sustainable business model or comparable, as it's also a 3-star hotel. What the council's decisioning means is the noise that is complained about is probably people traversing Munster Road to find a licensed establishment, be it all the way down to the Durrell at the far end or Bishops on the Fulham Palace Road to be able to continue their evenings. We're talking about 11 p.m., not 3 a.m. What they say about the noise from sporting events seems terribly unpatriotic, but smacks even more of the small-minded behaviour and out-of-touch behaviour. Indeed, I and others witnessed the next-door neighbours taking photographs and videos without our permission of us during last summer's European Championship, when record TV audiences in pubs and homes watched not just England, but many nations play for their country's pride in Fulham Kitchen. The protection for children for smoking is a good law, but absolutely and utterly no longer relevant, and now spurious as the rear garden is fully enclosed and the front legally sealed. Smoking is not illegal in this country, and the ever-increasing cases of COVID-19 virus, which we are told will increase dramatically over the winter, means we must preserve and safeguard outside licensed areas to stop it spreading so quickly. With the loss of Locali alone, we're down 65 outside spaces with a ward population that currently remains static. Finally, the current case of Night and Day versus Manchester City Council, as featured on the BBC, is so comparable, with 94,000 people signing a petition versus one objector who moved in just before lockdown and then didn't like having an established licensed venue next door when they reopened. We gave you last time 249 signatures of people objecting to the objection and asking for parity with the other businesses in the locality that in some cases, as mentioned, have ceased trading. I've lived in Fulham for the majority of my life. I, like the majority, do not want to live in what is increasingly turning into a dormitory borough. It was and should be a vibrant mix of colours, races, creeds and sexuality. What is happening is pure gentrification, diminishing local businesses, jobs and opportunities, and ruining the lives of the majority for the benefit of the small-minded 0.0003% of the Munster ward. How can you possibly justify this discrimination? As a postscript, the above may sound angry, and indeed many of us are, at least 250. The rule of democracy seems to be ignored in favour of the privileged few. The council has a moral obligation to represent those who voted both for and against it. We, the majority, are looking to the council to truly represent us. Thank you very much. That's my submission.
Thank you. Robert, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, hi, sorry. I would just briefly, I would add that, as Andrew mentioned, that we enclosed the back garden is now closed as a premises by the planning permission for it, so it's an enclosed structure. And the front garden has been, we put a retractable roof and retractable sides, which we usually put up when night falls, so about 8-9 o'clock. So that's as a councillor mentioned, the noise coming out from the terrace, obviously. And if I can just make a representation about showing the live games. We don't show live the games apart from is the World Cup and European Cup, which is every 2 or 4 years. And we have big crowds when the Fulham plays, obviously, before the families and friends, they're booking in locals, they're booking to a meal in our restaurant, and they're going to the game. And obviously after the game, they come for drinks. So that's the only, I think, if them, we cannot stop people coming when there is the game, which is lots of a bit bigger population than usual in the Munster Road and surrounding areas. So this is the last time we are applying for this license, and we've done everything what was asked from us regarding to complete all licensing rules. So I hope we wanna see this in a positive manner, because it's a really struggle for us, especially in the summertime, when we have to put people, which is still daylight, we have to put people in, and it's very hot, we have to put them inside and move meals and everything to close the terrace, when everybody around us, including Locale, which okay, it's closed now, but we used to have a license till 12 o'clock. Lamuri has till 11 o'clock. Rafael has got till 11 o'clock, and all have outside places. We are just like throw away from them. It's the same crowd which goes in all 4 places. So I don't see why we are so different than others. That's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robert. I'll come now to committee questions. Can I ask each committee member to ask questions of any party about the application and issues that have been raised at the hearing? Councillor Kwan.
Chair, thank you. This is a question either for Mr. Raditic or Mr. Taylor, depending on who is best placed to answer. I think we'd just like to understand a bit more. You alluded to the reason why I think the heat of having people, your patrons, customers, sort of being squashed into the interior of the restaurant. But if you could just explain a little bit further, because it wasn't clear to us from your application why you're asking for the extra outdoor extension to allowing people to dine outside.
If I may, I will answer. It's not we are asking for extra space. This is the space we already have. It's just that we have
the extra time, not
extra
space.
time. Yeah, it's just people like more and more, because in England it's the same like everywhere. The weather is getting warmer and warmer every year. We have summer which lasts now 3 months, which was unbelievable, unthinkable, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So people like to sit outside, and we have turned around. Over the years, so many customers, they come 9 o'clock for dinner. And once we tell them, okay, you can sit outside on the terrace at 9 o'clock, but you have to, in 10 o'clock, we have to move you inside. And we had a condition to close the front door as well, which was obviously removed later on in previous hearings. And that was the biggest loss for us, because many customers don't want to sit inside, especially in the summer months, when we have ventilators inside and everything, but it's sometimes really hot. You cannot serve customers inside. Like this summer, we had like 2-3 days, 40 over degrees. In those days, it was basically no customer sitting inside at all. It was just people on the terrace, which we have like 12 to 13 spaces we can fit. So they were just terrace usable for us, So I hope you understand what I mean.
Can I just add into that? Basically, the problem is if you've got those 12, 13 people outside, and you try, Robert has said he's explained, he'll try and say to them, okay, you're going to have to eat up now and leave, or you can come inside. But if people are coming inside, then there's no space for them. It's just there. So it's almost, as he said, sort of probably people coming past 8:15, 8:45, don't get time to finish their meal. I just wanted to point that out.
I've got a second question, if that's okay, Chair.
Yes, please continue.
Do you play music outside, as in, are there speakers outside, positioned outside, or can you actually hear music that may be playing inside? Does that sort of filter out into the outside so that it can be heard?
Right. No, we don't have a music outside at all. And there is a music inside which just played over the radio. It's just audible. It's a very low music. It's just like every restaurant team music, So we never have a live music, or only we had a few occasions, which was done for the charity events, which organized in Fulham Kitchen. That's when we had a live music. Even if we can have every Saturday we have an inside license till 12 o'clock. We don't use that advantage to it because we are respectful of neighbors, and I don't want to upset the people, because of 1 hour of live music or extra music. So we are very respectful. That's why we invested so much money in this front terrace. I'm sorry, because I was abroad and I was asking for this meeting to be adjourned, but I was told that it's not possible. I would send you the pictures of our front terrace now. You will see it's completely now retractably closed, so there is no sound or anything, very, very little sound coming out.
Are any complaints about noise that have come from the neighbours or disturbances? They're purely from conversation, the people's voices. Is that correct?
I would presume so, because when we get, we had so many complaints during the COVID, or when was the opening, when was allowed to work, and councillor came, investigation team came, and they found nothing, and so there was many false complaints which was registered against us, which has given us now a bad record, and I made an official complaint about the person who is doing the false reports on us, but there was nothing done about that.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from me, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kwon. Councillor Afonso.
Hi, I'd like to start with a question for the applicant. Either person can answer. How many seats are in this outside area? I've heard the figure 12, 13 touted. What is the actual figure?
Yeah, hi. Shall I answer?
Yeah.
We have 3 tables by 2, and we have 1 table of 4 and 1 table of 3. So 6, 10, 13. We can sit people comfortably.
Okay, this leads on to a second question. So the application is for an extension for 1 hour from 10 to 11. Is there a business justification for 1 hour for 13 people trading off for let's be honest, a lot of noise? Is there a sufficient business justification, do you feel?
Yes.
Have you done the calculations on profit and loss? Is there any calculation?
I'll answer this one just on the basis that
yes, percentages will be fine. Yeah.
What you need to understand is the locale, which is shut now 2 months ago, had 59 outside spaces, 59, okay, and is within 5 meters of the premises, okay. So that noise from 59 people staying outside till midnight, okay, in the middle of a residential area, generates a lot more than just the 13 that we are applying for Fulham Kitchen. It also was open an hour later, as I said, even longer. I think actually their license on the council website actually says up to 1:30 they can stay open. But as far as I know, other than Christmas and New Year, they never have done or never did. The other places that have still stayed open have a 11 or later license. L'Amour, I believe, has a license till 12:30 on a Friday and Saturday night, and 11:30 on other nights. Basically, this is about parity and a level playing field. All the properties, all the establishments on Munster Road are within a residential area. So why is Fulham Kitchen being penalised when others are being able to profit, when Robert has a customer there who then can go, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Oh, I'll just pop across to one of the other establishments that had a later license, which is within a tiny distance away. There's no justification for this discrimination.
And just one more question, Chair, to the applicants. Would you describe yourselves as a restaurant or a bar/restaurant?
Robert?
Restaurant, 100%.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll allow you both to come back if you want to. I've got a few questions, and the first one would be to Robert. Was the structure you were talking about, when was that erected, and does it have any technical properties?
Hi, that was erected about 6 months ago. and it's. I don't have. I was going to ask you to take a picture. I can just. I really realize we can share a contact here. You know, if I share the contact, you will have more idea how it's a retractable glass on the sides and retractable roof on the top. So we can completely open up space as it's during the day, and in the evening we can close it, so protects people from noise.
Well, it was really to. I take it you haven't got. It doesn't have a technical noise specification.
No. It's just the back garden, which we obviously got planning permission for it. It is soundproofed, to the standard which council, which planning permission was asked for. But the front one, no, it's not. Doesn't have technical specification.
Okay, thank you for now. There are a couple of other things I'd like to come back to. Firstly, Councillor Alford. Councillor Alford?
Hello, yes, can you see me now and hear me now?
Yes, I can. This is probably... can you tell us how long you've been in the area and how well you know the area and the local residents and all the various businesses that have come and gone from Munster Road, just to... It's probably not so much for my benefit, but it's for the rest of the committee who are not so familiar with Fulham.
Well, I've represented the ward for 32 years, and I've walked every street of it many, many times. There has always been a churn on the Munster Road for many, many years. Some open, some close. I would declare that I actually know the people who owned Olive, and I know why that closed. So I would declare an interest, not an interest there, but the fact that I have a personal knowledge and friendship with the people who had Olive Restaurant, well, who were the owners of Olive Restaurant as opposed to the operators. Basically, that closed because the lease came to an end. Locali, I think, closed in April. The problem is that most of them were pretty quiet restaurants. And unfortunately, I've certainly received complaints about the noise and the breaches about Fulham Kitchen, which is why I'm objecting. It is sitting very much on the corner of Albane Road, which is a residential street. And that's the real concerns, that they are noisy. And Albane Road particularly is one with young families, and it's just the dynamic of how it is. What else can I tell you? We have had restaurants come and go over, but that's how restaurants come and go in the whole of Fulham. I think you'd agree on that one. You know, they come and they go, and you never know quite what's turning up the next week. Munster Road it's a very narrow road, and it does have, unfortunately, too much traffic, which is not helped. But I would say it goes in phases. Sometimes it's very prosperous, and then sometimes it's down. You know, it's a cyclical thing. Does that answer a few of your questions, Mr. Alexander?
Yes, thank you. Councillor Kwan.
Thank you, Chair. If I could also ask a question to both Councillors Stanton and Alford. In terms of local resident objections, we've only received, as a committee, one in specifically to this. Would you be able to tell me, have you received written emails or objections?
More conversations.
Not objections, complaints. Okay, so conversations.
Conversations where Councillor Kwan, I wander around the ward regularly. When I'm talking to people, you get people talking, and and I'm trying to be very non-aggressive about this, but you can quite see there is a slight problem of dynamic between some of the residents and the restaurant. I think that was been brought up by the restaurateur, that some residents have been very, very, and in many ways intimidated. But I hate to use the word intimidated. Sure, we felt less able to be vocal about their complaints. Does that answer?
Yes, I'm just trying to establish that there are occasions where the dynamic breaks down between
Yes.
neighbour and an establishment, but that
Very
doesn't
much.
that's not necessarily reflective of the why. I just want to make sure it's not
Put it
an
this way,
isolated.
this is the
thing.
only restaurant I get complaints about. And the one on the Dawes Road, but that's a pub. There are only 2 establishments that I get complaints about.
Yes, and apologies to be specific. Are those complaints specifically about the late night noise?
The late night, the noise, yes, and a few other things.
Which is what we're
antisocial
sort of
behaviour.
limited. Okay,
Yes.
well, obviously we're limited to thinking about the late
You
night.
are limited. That's why I'm being very careful what I'm trying to say to you, which I hope is clear.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Stanton, did you have anything further to add? Any sort of instances of complaints about the late night noise with respect to this application, or related sort of late night noise?
I mean, yes and no. Yes, I do, but nothing that Councillor Woolford hasn't already said. I've received exactly the same, separately and from different people, complaints. I mean, in fact, you as a councillor will know that we spend a lot of time as politicians knocking on doors, speaking to people, and it's something that's actually come up on the doorstep.
Thank you both. No further questions yet.
Okay, if I can just come back to my questions, can I speak to Robert about a few things that were presented to us that I don't really, I'm worried about, which is the spurious racism and objections being based on racism, which I worry about it, because Fulham has always been a very, very, as you will know, a very diverse multicultural area, and it's one place where we expect people from Serbia and Kosovo and Albania and Croatia to all be able to come away from whatever they've come from, to come here and not to have that kind of thing. And have you, so Robert, I'll ask a bit more so that you don't have to keep coming backwards and forwards. What have you done about this kind of racism that you feel is there? And I'm going to also, we had this phrase NIMBY, which I think Andrew used, which I suspect is Andrew's phrase rather than yours. But I'm going to get Andrew to sort of just expand on what he means about a NIMBY, because I want to understand whether this is sort of fighting talk, because that's when people don't like somebody else's view about something and they'll call them a NIMBY. Anyway, over to you, Robert, just really about this racism issue, and that the objections are not strong objections. They're just based on that they have any racist basis.
Hello, hi. First of all, I don't know what NIMBY means. To be honest, I'm sorry about that. I know I'm here 20 years, but I never heard that phrase before. Sorry. The racism issue came. First of all, I'm just going to give you a brief in start to our restaurant. As we took over our restaurant in 2015, we only served like continental food. And we only added the Serbian food as the Serbian people start coming to us, because we are the Serbians, obviously, by birth. And we added Serbian menu. And so lots of people from, not just from Serbia, from Balkans came to Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Slovenia, obviously Albanians, Kosovo, and mostly Romanians, Bulgaria, because we have very similar cuisine. So people start coming to us. So it was lots of diversity, lots of people. And the racial issue came to light when I'm not gonna name any names, but obviously the objector from the last in our last application, he went around the neighborhood and started collecting, knocking on people's door and asking to make a representation against our application. And they went to our neighbor, which is on Orban Road, with a young family who was just literally behind the Fulham kitchen, and asked them as well, same thing, which they have 2 kids. They are very regular to our establishment, and asked them to sign the petition again, or to make a representation against our licensing application. And they told them that it's a Serbian gangs, criminals, Albanians. They are gathering there. That place should be shut down. No, not just the license should be rejected. Then the place should be shut down because lots of Serbians are gathering there. And I think the lady politely, it was a lady who was at home, and she politely told him to go. And they stopped talking with them and with most of other neighbors after that incident. And she brought that to our attention, and she told me that I should make an official complaint. I didn't want to have a bad relationship with the next door neighbor, especially exactly next door to us. So I just ignored it and let it go through. So, but it was, it really left us all feeling that no wanted there, even if we was before that incident, we was very welcomed by all our local neighbors, including Andrew, Trevor, to name many of them. They come regularly every day, or breakfast or lunch or dinner, and we never had any issue with anybody, to be honest with you, there apart from that. So I hope this answers your questions.
Yeah, and can I just ask what sort of alcohol you sell? Is it beer or spirits or wines?
We have a full alcohol license, but most of the drinks we sell, it's beer and wines. So spirits we sell really, it's just, if we didn't even have spirits, it wouldn't really hurt us, because most of when it's the football match, we sell lots of beers, obviously, and during the day and for dinner, obviously, we sell mostly wine.
Yeah. So this isn't a Slivovic bar?
No, it's not Slivovic bar. We do have a Slivovica, but it's not Slivovic bar.
Okay. Andrew, could you just expand on this? Really, it's NIMBY, and I know what it means, but it has been brought into the application.
Chair, apologies. Your microphone is making a noise again.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, it's fine.
It's better now, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to the picture, but I'll continue without the picture until it remedies itself. Sorry, Andrew, I was just wanting to get on the bonnet of this idea of NIMBY, and if this is a public platform, so if you call your neighbours NIMBY, it's gonna I doubt that's gonna help. But anyway, over to you.
Sorry. Yes. No. The reason I used it, I'm sorry. There's a couple of points being made which are very misleading. First of all, I live in Albane Road, which Councillor Alford was referring to. The signatories on the petition that we handed in, if she would care to take a look through that, which the council has a copy of those 249 people, 22 of them lived in Albane Road. And that was 22 individuals signing on behalf of their households, many of them with small children. This was basically in support of Fulham Kitchen, not against it. Secondly, her and the other objecting councillor claim they've walked around. Well, I repeat what I've said earlier. They've never walked into Fulham Kitchen and made themselves known and tried to sit down and find any sort of resolution. Now, about the NIMBY bit, it's because it's particularly pertinent, and it's been widely reported on the BBC, is people who move into an area and then dislike what has been established there for many years and object to it. And the problem that we have with this particular one couple is that they're being protected by Councillor Alford. And actually the comments that she made calling threatening, I think it was, this is just perpetuating the racism that Robert and his staff have had to endure This is not representing Munster Ward in a general term for all the participants. It's stirring up trouble. The people who've moved in next door to Fulham Kitchen and then decided they don't want to live next to a bar and restaurant are, I'm afraid, ruining it for, as I said, for the vast majority. They represent 0.00003% of Munster Ward. So I don't know why they're getting so much airtime in this day and age. And why can't Robert be free to get on with his business, in which he's had for many, many years longer than they've lived there, and they've just tried to make his life hell and doing everything possible to ruin his business. Serbian pirates, that's the least of it. Serbian mafia, I've heard them being referred to by this group of objectors. So NIMBY is unfortunate. It's a term that is not in my backyard, is what it stands for. As in, I don't want this here, even though it's been here a lot longer than me. Sorry, a roundabout way of answering your question. Oh, and by the way, Locali was there for 20 years, Councillor Alford, not here today and gone tomorrow. So there we go.
Okay, thanks. Can we just because this is expanded a little bit, with the petition that was in relation to a previous license application?
Yes, but it still pertains to this because it's the same one. It's having the extra hour at the front. Sorry, somebody's phone is ringing. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. All I can hear is a telephone. Right. So
I have to apologise. Somebody just tried to sell me insurance for an accident I never had.
It does pertain to that. It's still relevant. It was dated. If you'd like, we're more than happy to go out, and I'm sure we can probably get 500 signatures now, which truly will make this. I mean, all this is doing is wasting Robert's time, Robert's money, and the council's time, just for one couple, one household.
Can I come to thank you very much. And can I again ask everybody to mute their microphones if they're not speaking? Councillor Stanton, can you give us a bit more about because it seems to be this is resting around noise from the premises and disrupting families and causing them problems. I'm going to kind of disregard on either side issues of Serbian mafia, and I've never seen anything to suggest that there was Serbian mafia there. There are no 40-year-old Audi A5s and people walking around in leather jackets and So there's nothing I would associate with mafia activity one way or the other, and we wouldn't, we're not going to get involved. But we do concern ourselves with the noise and the effect it has on people who live adjacent to the property rather than just specifically in the area. And the next door neighbours of this property have written in with an objection. And I would like you to just sort of give us a better idea of this, particularly around the noise.
Well, can I just? I know you've said taking aside the comments about Serbians. Can I just say, until this evening, I wasn't actually aware of the nationality of the applicant. It's the first time I've actually heard the word Serbian used in all the correspondence that I've had with regards to this restaurant. It's just not been a thing. But in terms of noise, can I just say at the outset, well, two things. One, it's not just one resident or one couple that's making complaints about this. That's just not true. However, since the structure at the rear has been in place, there has been a reduction in complaints. In fact, but for this application, I would suggest it's possible that there would have been no future complaints. The reason for the objection is because it is outside, it is at the front, and it is quite late at night. There is a current licence allowing patrons to be on the terrace until 10 o'clock. That's actually not too bad. I don't think residents are too unhappy about that. The question that is at issue here is going that much later into the night until 11 o'clock. And we all know that at 11 o'clock is when people are told to leave. There'll then be noise, etc., of people doing that. So say that the actual overall amount of noise has reduced. If we're talking about historical issues, what we're trying to do is prevent new problems from being caused. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if it does quite.
That's very helpful. Thank you. May I ask now Councillor Kwon and Councillor Afonso if they have any further questions?
From me, Chair.
None from me either, Chair.
Okay, I have no further questions. I know Robert has had his hand up, but he will get a chance to say something during the summing up. So I'm going to ignore that for now. So we'll move on to the next phase of the meeting, which is the summing up. And I will ask the licensing officer to sum up first, please.
Yeah, just one more comment from us, please, Chair. Just to notify you that Noise and Nuisance would have liked to have put a representation in, but because of staff shortages and annual leave, they missed the deadline. That's all from us, Chair. Thank you.
I don't know which one wants to go first, whether it's Councillor Orford or Councillor Stanton. Councillor Stanton.
I'm going to sum up on behalf of both of us.
I was just going to say one thing, Dominic, if I
yes,
was permitted.
So, Councillor Orford, please.
This is very big. First of all, I would like to sum up and say that under no circumstances have we been in any way racist or anything. It is irrelevant what the nationality of the proprietor and owner is. And it has certainly not been any form from either of us to make any suggestions of anything to do with criminality or any form of mafia. And I would make this, I'd like that on the record, that has not been part of our objections. It has been on the effect on the area of noise and for the families. So that's very much, I would like that noted.
Thank you, that will be noted.
Thank you. And then I'll hand to Councillor Stanton quickly.
Thank you. Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. Well, firstly, just a quick comment to Mr. Taylor. If you could possibly forward me after this meeting those invitations that you said that you sent me to come in, I'll be very grateful because I've not received them. I should also say, maybe I should have declared this at the outset, I've actually eaten in Fulham Kitchen on the terrace quite early in the evening, I should say, and it was a very enjoyable meal, so thank you for that. I don't really have anything to add to the comments that we've already had. You've asked us sort of questions, you've got our submissions. What I would say is please consider each case, each venue licence on its own merits. The fact that some other licences in the area may be slightly longer. They're different clientele sometimes. There may be older licences that wouldn't be granted now. So please consider this application on its own merits on the basis of the information that you've been provided with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. I'll now come to the applicant, which is Councillor Taylor and Andrew Taylor and Robert. And in terms of time, although we normally say 3 minutes, I think we've kind of lost a bit. So I'm going to allow the applicants a bit of license on time because I think that it's appropriate in for fairness. Who'd like to speak first?
Robert, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. As I said before, just want to point out this, you can go on the record as well. Councillor Stanton's opening statement was there was a complaint a couple of days ago when Serbian game was played on. So if that's not racist, I don't know what is racist, you know. It didn't say when England game was played on, obviously pointed out when Serbian game was played on. But never mind, you know, I fought all my life with that, so we're gonna We're gonna still be there, even if you don't grant us this license till 11 o'clock. We are disadvantaged. We've done everything what is in our power. We could done it, and there's nothing else I can do. I spend so much money applying for this license. You know, every time just putting ad in the paper is £350. If you understand. Obviously, we had COVID for 2 years. We had a bounce back loan, which we pay now, which is £50,000. I paid for the rear extension £27,000. Paid for the front garden to be enclosed with the retractable roof and the glass, £7,500. So for this 1 hour, you know, we've done so much. And if you can't see and understand what is, you know, why we're doing all this, you know, I mean, and there is no much more we can do about it. One of the councillors asked me before to give him the figures. But if you just work out like 13 people, roughly £35 per head, you will see each night people who come about 9 o'clock. Many times Andrew came as well. I mean, you know, he knows he has to go at 10 o'clock. He will pass and go, sorry, Robert, you know, it's a nice day. I'm not going to sit, you know, on your terrace till 10 o'clock and then have to move with the dog inside. He will just pass and go to Lamour or any other, or across to Rafaels. So as some of them on my time, you know, we've done everything what was asked from us, and we try to be good neighbors and respectful. But maybe we should really have a live music every last Saturday until 12 o'clock, and then our neighbors would maybe like that. So maybe we'll try to do that, you know, from now on. Thank you very much, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. And Andrew, would you like to sum up, please?
Yeah, just a point of clarity to Councillor Stanton again on his supposed noise after the Serbia game. The latest Serbia game started at 7 o'clock GMT and was finished by 20:45. And if you looked at the groups, Serbia have actually not won a single match. So I doubt there was much celebration, whooping and going on after that. Secondly, be very keen that Councillor Alfred and Councillor Stanton are talking about this myriad of other people who are objecting, none of which are named, none of which have actually stood above the parapet and actually said who they are. So therefore, I don't think they can be counted. So we go back to the one household again. And finally, you know, as a council, you have a really bad reputation for supporting local licensed and leisure businesses. I can go back to any one of them. The guys who own Locali and others, you have a moral duty to keep businesses, local businesses going in these terrible financial times. You should be supporting them, not penalizing them for trying to keep going. Robert's mentioned the sorts of figures that they've put in place. This is all to try and please you. We've reached out to you. Yes, Dominic Stanton, Councillor Stanton, I will indeed send you the copies of the letters that I have sent to you at the council that you have not replied to. Councillor Alford is pointless. I'm afraid you don't represent any of the people's views. Neither do you represent the 250 people who actually not just signed the petition, but left their name and their email address, as well as where they lived. And an awful lot of them live within a 5-minute walk in this residential area, as you call it, let alone our local consultant gynecologist, who actually wrote to you personally as the licensing committee saying she was fed up and would be absolutely frightened, scared to be walking through without somewhere to go to that is outside and looks respectable. The streets are too dangerous these days anyway, I'm afraid. I've been mugged too many times. So let's not go down that front. You need businesses like Fulham Kitchen. There is a demand for places to stay open later. Otherwise, businesses wouldn't need licenses to that time. This is, and I do disagree very strongly with Councillor Stanton saying it shouldn't be taken in comparison to existing licenses. You have lost 59 outside spaces at Locali, which is within 5 to 10 meters of this. If that doesn't cut down the noise, I don't know what is, because they were going on plenty of time late on into the night, and that had a much later license. We're only asked for 11 o'clock. We're only asking for parity. We're only asking for what the majority want. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The deliberations. The committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate meeting room. An adjournment notice will be displayed during the deliberations. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their videos, mute their microphones, and join the private meeting in Teams?
Your mic is off.
You're muted.
Yeah, Debbie, can we start?
Yes, I think we are ready.
Is Councillor Alford here?
No?
No, Chair, Councillor Alford won't be rejoining, but she said to proceed in her absence, if that's all right with you.
Okay, no, that's fine. London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, summary decision of the licensing subcommittee, 30th of November 2022. Fulham Kitchen, 228 Munster Road, Fulham, London, Southwest 6, 6AZ. The committee has considered an application for the variation of a premises licence to remove condition 11 from the existing licence under the Licensing Act 2003. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to reject the application. A copy of the committee's full decision, including its reasoning, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. And I would ask you to note that I've asked the Council's legal officers to get the decision letter out to you as soon as they can, and they will prioritise it. And I'd like to thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.